Hi, and welcome to Once Upon a Nightmare. I'm your host, Amy Medcalf.
And I'm your other host, Ashley Dory. And welcome to Tiana. That was
And
my line.
are you trying to steal my thunder?
That was my line. And welcome to today's nightmare.
Like, hello, it was my turn.
You cut me off too early.
I cut you off.
Oh my.
Oh my gosh. I just want to take all the attention. I'm in a new space.
You are.
Weird. Um, my man's isn't feeling good, so he's got the bedroom, which is where I usually film on my phone. So I get the joys of actually using the computer in the house. It is like a first for me. And I don't know if he knows. He probably knows, but I I tried to do it on my phone out here. It just didn't work out audibly for us.
No, it was.
Yeah. We've been having so many even with my speaking technical difficulties. I don't know English anymore. I don't know anything. Like yesterday, everything being down, um, Facebook and Instagram and everything. Like we weren't able to get much done yesterday. We had troubles with Zoom too, like because
Everything.
Zoom,
Well, it was Facebook, WhatsApp,
yeah,
Twitter.
Zoom was down for a little bit, but I don't know if it was down for the whole time.
Zoom was down for a
There was a
while.
lot down yesterday. There was a lot down.
There really was.
Yeah. Speaking of down, tonight we're going to be talking about serial killers. They're going to take you down if you're not careful enough.
Yeah.
So, ladies and gentlemen, be very careful when you're walking alone at night. Don't have both headphones in your ears. And if you are an iPhone user, um, like myself, you can just like if you there's a thing where if you press like oh that's so weird. If you press the button here 5 times, it'll send out an SOS to your local police department and to your emergency contacts. Let them know that you are in danger and where you are.
I think 911 is also working on a text option now.
Yeah, but it like yeah, for I guess if you don't have like the iPhone thing, because like I feel like text would be like harder to do.
Yes and no,
Like,
because if you're in a situation where you can't like talk, you know what I mean? And you can
talk,
just
like if you're able to have like you snuff your phone in or whatever and you're able to text, great option. Because
you
obviously
can
you went
you can also call 911 and order a pizza. And if you're in a domestic violence situation, they'll understand what you're talking about.
yeah, be like isn't it like a large pepperoni?
If you just call 911, if you are in a domestic violence situation where your partner is not letting you out of their sight and is monitoring what you're saying, you can call 911 and order a pizza. Say, I'd like to order a pizza, please. Can you deliver it to this address?
And if you're also on a date and it seems very off, like you're at a restaurant or a bar, some of them have signs in the women's washroom or whatever to order certain drinks at the bar.
They're usually called
And
angel shots, right?
I think each bar has something different. Like I think the first one that came out had the angel shots and it was like different tiers of it. So like they would walk you to your car or they would call the police and all this other stuff. So like it was really I think that's really cool because then you're like if they came up it's like, oh hey, what you doing? And you're like, oh just ordering a drink,
But like, if you don't feel safe in any situation either, don't be afraid to ask somebody that works in a place like, hey, I have this weird feeling this guy is kind of giving me like these shifty vibes. Could you walk me to my car? They will
and,
walk you to your vehicle.
and also like don't be afraid to tell your friends where the hell you are. Be like, I will give you my location for the next hour and keep them updated too, especially if it's like a first date. I don't care if it was a first date or a 10th date. If you don't know the person very well, always update your friends. I remember I went on this online date like 4 years ago. And I was nervous, and I also wasn't sure if like they were gonna pay, because you never know if they're gonna pay. And I'm like, I don't really have money. I was broke. And I was like, not that I was expecting him to pay, but my friends, they were gonna go on a date too. So they sat at a different table where they could see me and make sure that I was safe and I was okay. And then if he didn't pay for me or whatever, or something weird happened, they would lend me the money I needed for my dinner or whatever. So it was really cool. Like my friends were really cool about it, and they got scared when I was like, they couldn't see me at one point, and they're like, oh my god.
I think of all the situations that I put myself into when I was younger,
Right?
with online dating and meeting people. And
Because we were in the beginning of that era of the online dating. Like now it's so like common knowledge to fucking like, hey, let's go on Tinder and meet up with so and so, like, and it's like, whereas before it's like, don't go out with anybody you don't know. Mom and dad telling you.
meeting people in parking lots,
Oh my god.
back at casinos. It's fine. It's fine. We just
now we just like literally call a stranger and get in our car.
no, I don't.
Oh, you don't use Uber?
We don't have Uber here.
All right, we have Uber.
We have taxis.
I would rather get
all the taxi drivers. So
I would rather get into an Uber car than a taxi cab in this city. Like I live in Montreal, and the taxis are fucking insane. They are ruthless. They don't follow road rules, nada.
speaking of tonight's subject, which is serial killers, this isn't so much a serial killer but a murder. And do you remember when you were down, we went and drove through Truro, and we happened to see that police officer on the step with the
we saw okay, so we saw like this group of East Indian men, young men, like in their early 20s, and they were outside of a house, and an officer was standing outside the house. So we thought it was like maybe like a domestic fight or something.
Well, it turns out that this gentleman was a taxi cab driver in Truro, and he was just getting off of his shift, and he was heading home, and some people decided that just because of the color of his skin and his accent, he did not deserve to live, and took this man's life. And he was found on his front step, I believe.
They slit his throat, I believe, right?
Yeah. It was very much a hate crime.
More grim about it, but like, this is the reality of life. Like, nobody chooses the color of their skin. Nobody chooses their sexual orientation or anything like that. And I heard this one piece of advice. If it's not something somebody can change in 10 seconds, don't comment on it. If you're sitting here and I'm like, hey, Ashley, you got spinach in your teeth. You would be like, hey, yeah, cool.
Thanks, and where?
How'd you know I had spinach tonight? That's something somebody can change in 10 seconds. But if I'm sitting here like, ew, Ashley, you got some, actually, you could probably change that. I was gonna say gray hair. So I don't want to be mean, but it's like, ew, Ashley, like you need to get your teeth fixed. Like that would be rude. Or like, you need to lose 100 pounds. I need to lose 100 pounds. Like we both do. But like, it's not easy to do in 10 seconds. Like not even in like a couple years. Like losing weight is really hard.
It's extremely hard.
We've both been on this for a long time. But yeah, like, it's very sad. It was a very sad thing that happened to that guy. Oh, it makes my, like, imagine being like those boys and finding out and he was only here to like better himself, live a better life.
Literally just here to like live their lives and make a living, and just like you and me.
And it's not like he was like living off of our system or anything. He was probably working really hard, and it's not easy being a cab driver, like people puking in your car on bar nights, like rude people. And I'm sure a lot of people went into that car with some nice
My heart breaks. Like, it's uncalled for. It's not it's not necessary. Like, they're not in this day and age. Like, we know better. Come on.
Yeah.
Knock it off.
Like,
grow up a little bit.
like, especially for people who have this really huge faith in God. I'm not one to be highly into God, but like, God created these people for a reason. He created people who love others of the same gender. He created people who want to be who they feel like they need to be. And they created people of color. And the only reason we're of different color is habitat.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's because they were born on a, you and I we were just born in the freaking cold.
I was born in Etobicoke, Ontario, at the Queen Anne Hospital.
I'm sure if you and I were born in like Australia, like our ancestors were born in Australia and Africa and all that stuff back in the day, we would have a darker skin tone, and it's like, depending on how, like, the difference of genetics along the way, like they could have mated with a lot of white people, but like
my mom, if you look at my mother, she is very, very native looking. She has the darker complexion skin, she's got the darker eyes, she's got the darker hair, she's got all of it. And then you look at me, this beautiful little Native American, German, British, Irish
mutt,
this Heinz 57 of a human being that's got a little bit of everything in her. And look at my skin color. I am white, and I literally have ancestors that were from Africa. And like,
my friend, her dad is Black and her mom is white. And the only way you would know that she was Black is because she has that really kinky curl of hair, but she looks white.
mm-hmm.
And yeah, her sister is darker skinned and everything, but like, she is a mixed girl, but she looks white. And then there's like babies who are born to parents, and they're both their parents, they're both white, but because of their ancestry, they were born Black. Like, there's so much mixed into our ancestry. I don't know about mine. Mine didn't seem to deter very much because I'm just like, I did the 23andMe, guys, and I was hoping for something cool because, like, but listen, I'm whiter than white bread.
I've got like,
I wanted to be like, I wanted to be like, oh man, like, that's why I have curly hair. No, I'm just like white. I'm like Scandinavian and English and Irish and German, and I'm like, oh.
I am British and Irish and German and French and Scandinavian and Russian, and there's a little bit of Chinese in my family. There was, I think, somewhere along from like Morocco or something like that. Like very exotic places, and I'm just like, I look so white.
Dude, I am just, I'm
when I was born, I was
turn the brightness up and be a ghost, like
literally. Like, if I did it right now.
Really way off topic. Oh my gosh, I can't believe how much off topic we got. Yeah, we're going to talk about serial Zodiac Killers tonight, guys. So let's grab our snacks.
And let's get started on this. You took my line.
I think we really messed up our intro. I don't even know what it is anymore.
It was a very long introduction. It's fine. People that know us must be used to the back and forth banter and expect this when they listen to us. I mean, it's just, it's the way it is.
I needed some adult conversation.
I
really could go on forever about that kind of stuff, to be honest.
Yes.
So I think we're going to go so we both got a male serial killer and a female. So we have 4 stories for you tonight. We'll try and keep them short because we did talk a lot. Hi, Snowball. Speaking of
pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. There, it's gone.
So I think we're gonna do man, lady. Let's see. Yeah.
We'll start with the men and then we'll work our way over to the ladies because they're usually a little more.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, we'll both do men and then we'll do ladies and we'll go from there. I need a better camera, guys. I'm sorry.
I'm gonna go ahead and start, and I've tried, like I said, I tried to pick people that were kind of obscure and not really well known.
Yeah, we both did because we didn't want to overlap and bore you with the same story of Zodiac Killer and Jeffrey Dahmer, which I called Jeffy
Dahmer
earlier.
Jeffy Dahmer, the people Dahmer.
Jeffy. How you doing, Jeffy?
Jeffy Peanut Butter. But you guys have heard Manson and Jeffrey Dahmer and Ed Gein and all these people multiple times. So we wanted to give you a little bit of a different story, something to keep you.
Mm-hmm. You might have heard of them in passing. I think I've heard of this one before in passing, but it's not over.
But the Zodiac Killer was also, or well, not the Zodiac Killer. There was another serial killer that is well known that was on the dating game too. Was it Jeffrey Dahmer? Might have been Jeffrey Dahmer.
I'll look it up while you start talking and I'll let you know.
So my person that I chose, his name is Rodney Alcala. He was born Rodney James Alcala, or if we want to go the long route, he was born Rodrigo Jacques Alcala Bacor. He was born August 23rd, 1943, and he subsequently passed July 24th in 2021. So he passed away this year. He is an American serial killer and rapist who was sentenced to death in California for 5 murders committed in that state between 77 and 79. He received an additional sentence of 25 years to life after pleading guilty to 2 homicides committed in New York in 71 and 77. But his number of victims remains unknown and could be much higher. It could be in the possibly thousands. Or as little as 250. So he goes also by the dating game killer John Berger and Rod Alcala. He spent the years 1968 to 1979 actively murdering. He has convictions of battery, kidnapping, murder, probation violation, rape, providing cannabis to a minor. He has criminal charges, 1 count of battery, 1 count of kidnapping, a violation of probation, 2 counts of rape, 1 count of providing cannabis to a minor, and 5 counts of first-degree murder, which he was charged for in 2010. His penalty was death. He was charged for 8 people. He had a collection of more than 1,000 photographs of women, teenage girls, and boys in sexually explicit poses. In 2016, I'm sorry, my cat's got the zoomies. In 2016, he was charged with the 77 murder of a woman identified in one of his photos. Alcala is known to have assaulted 1 other photographic subject, and police have speculated that others could be rape or murder victims as well of his from the photographs. Prosecutors said that he toyed with his victims. Now, this is a pretty disturbing fact about him. He would strangle his victims until they lost consciousness, just taking them to that verge of death. And then he would wait around until they were revived. and then he would do it again. And then he would wait around till they got better or came to, and then he would do it again. And he just liked to play a little game of cat and mouse. um
Their lives.
Police described him as a killing machine and compared him to Ted Bundy. He's sometimes referred to as the dating game killer because of his 78 appearance on the show The Dating Game. So he did go on The Dating Game, and a lot of the contestants did describe him as creepy and like really unusual and just like off. And I think the only thing that saved that that bachelorette contestant was that she didn't go on the date with him because she found him creepy. So she was like, no thanks. So he, oh my god, he is something else. So he died of unspecified natural causes in 2021 at the age of 77. So natural causes. He was old and died in prison. Yeah. He if you would like to know the events or names of the victims, a little quick, he killed the US, he was in the US Army, he graduated from UCLA. He killed Tally Shapiro in 68. He was a fugitive and a student in NYU Film School, and he was a camp counselor in 68 to 71. In 71, he killed Cornelia Criley. 71 to 74 was incarcerated. 74 was Julie J. He was incarcerated for Julie J. Then there was Ellen Hover. He worked as a LA Times typesetter. Then there was Antoinette Whitaker, Jill Barcom, Georgia Wickstead, Pamela Jean Lamson, Christine Ruth Thornton, Joyce Gaunt, the contestant of The Dating Game, Charlotte Lamb, Jill Parento, Robin Samso. He was arrested on suspicion in 79 and then convicted after that. But let's get the names of his victims out there because their families deserve to know and deserve respect, and they deserve to be known. So
Yeah.
yeah, he's pretty gruesome.
Oh, a lot. I just like have no words for like some of these, and it's like when I was reading, like trying to find like ones that I wanted to read, I was like, who, like, why would you go so far? Like, it's so sad. Like, what got you to this point that you felt like you needed to do this to somebody?
I feel very, very thankful that I am a plus size lady because they very rarely become murder victims. Very rarely. I am a lot of lady to kill and I'm a lot of lady to hide. So good luck.
We're hard to kidnap. Eat your cake, people.
Stay fat. It saves lives.
That's so sad. I think we're gonna go to hell if we're not already there. Like, let's be honest. This world is going to crap right now.
If you can't laugh, then what do you have?
It's true. So for my man,
Your man. Let's hear about your man.
not my man. So the guy that I found, his name is Robert Hansen. Now he was born in Pocahontas, Idaho, in 1940. Hansen was the son of a Danish immigrant who followed in his father's footsteps as a baker. In his youth, Hansen was skinny and painfully shy, afflicted with a stammer and a severe case of acne that left him permanently scarred, which I feel so bad. Like,
Awful.
it is. It's so awful. And in later years, he would recall his face as one big pimple. And hard.
I know he killed people, but like,
I know, but this actually leads up to why he did. I'm like shaking my computer really a lot. Shunned by the attractive girls in school. Now, come on, people. There's more than just attractiveness involved in like loving someone. He grew up hating them and nursing fantasies of cruel revenge. Hansen was married in 1961 and divorced within the year. Following his first arrest on charges of arson, 6 years later, he wed another Pocahontas native, and she followed him to Anchorage, Alaska, where he opened his own bakery and prospered in a new land. Safely removed from the painful memories of childhood and adolescence, Hansen took flying lessons and purchased his own private plane, earning a reputation as an outdoorsman and hunter who stalked Dall sheep, wolves, and bear with a rifle or bow and arrow. In 1972, I'm sorry, am I boring you? I'm kidding. In 1972, it's really late for you. In 1972, Hansen was arrested twice more, charged with the abduction and attempted rape of a housewife who escaped his clutches, and the rape of a prostitute who did not. Serving less than 6 months on a reduced charge, he was picked up again for shoplifting a chainsaw. In 1976, convicted of larceny, he was sentenced to 5 years in prison, but the verdict was overturned on appeal. The Alaska Supreme Court regarding his sentence as too harsh. Unknown to local authorities, Hansen's visible activities were only the tip of a very lethal iceberg. According to his subsequent confession, Hansen preyed consistently on women in the decade between 1973 and 1983, murdering 17 and raping another 30 who survived.
Jesus.
Right. As targets, he selected prostitutes, exotic dancers, and the like, abducting them by airplane to the wilderness outside of Anchorage, where they were forced to act out Hansen's private fantasies. If they came across with what I wanted, he explained, we'd come back to town. I'd tell them if they made any trouble for me, I had connections and would have them put in jail for being prostitutes. Resistance or demands for payment after sex resulted in assorted victims being murdered, sometimes with the ghoulish touch of Hansen stripping them and stalking them like animals, making the kill with a hunting knife or his favorite big game rifle. The first indication of a killer at large came in 1980 when construction workers unearthed a woman's remains near Eklutna Road. I don't know how to say that, sorry. Stabbed to death in 1979, she was never identified. Dubbed Eklutna Annie by police assigned to work the case. Later that year, the corpse of Joanna Messina was found in a gravel pit near Seward, and a special task force was organized to probe the killings. Topless dancer Sherry Morrow had been dead 10 months when hunters found her body in a shallow grave beside the Nick River. But the discovery brought authorities no closer to a solution in their case. In 1983, Hansen decided to save time and energy by bringing his victims home. He called it his summer project, laying the groundwork by packing his wife and 2 children off on a European vacation. Next, he began running ads in a local singles newspaper seeking women to join me in finding what's around the next bend, over the next hill. On June 13th, 1983, a 17-year-old captive escaped from Hansen en route to his airplane hangar, handcuffs still dangling from one wrist as she ran for help. Her charges brought Hansen to the attention of task force detectives, and he ultimately confessed to a series of 17 murders, including that of Paula Golding, found by hunters in September 1983. On a flying tour of the wilderness, Hansen began pointing out graves to state troopers, and they recovered 11 bodies over the next 8 months. Several victims remained anonymous, their names unknown even to Hansen, but others were identified as Rox Eastland, Lisa Futrell, and Indira Altieri, Angela Fetter, Teresa Watson, and Dylan Frey, all reported missing from the Anchorage area during Hansen's reign of terror. On February 18, 1984, Robert Hansen pled guilty on 4 counts of first-degree murder in the case of Eklutna Annie, Joanna Messina, Sherry Morrow, and Paula Golding. Charges were dismissed in the other cases, but it scarcely mattered as Hansen was sentenced to a term of life imprisonment plus 461 years.
Jesus.
He hunted them like wild animals. Like, I forgot about that, to be quite honest. Like, I read it and then I like kind of forgot about it. I think I just blocked it out, to be quite honest.
It seems to be like, I mean, he had a smooth thing. He could take them out on the plane to the middle of freaking nowhere. Sex workers, like, who's gonna miss them?
Which Alaska's already like desolate.
I'm not gonna lie, I didn't think there were sex workers in Alaska.
I didn't think there was much in Alaska in general.
Like in the way of like prostitutes, right?
Yeah, and enough to open a bakery. Like, although like this new book series that I'm reading is like, it's so funny. It's actually like it takes place in Alaska, and it's called Crave. If you're into like I like reading young adult books sometimes. Like it's very Twilighty, but not Twilighty at the same time. I don't know. It's very hard to explain, but it's actually really good.
You know who's really demented? Women.
No kidding. They're sneaky about things. They're the worst.
Women are more likely to kill their children, their husbands, the people that stress us out the most. We're more likely to kill them.
Mistresses.
Whoopsie.
Ooh, somebody didn't turn their volume off.
Well, I did, but then I had to turn it back up and when we stopped filming the first time. So don't blame me. I'm working with what I got here. The lady that I chose, my lady, my woman.
My lady is an old lady.
Her name is Juanita Hoyt. Her full name is Juanita Ethel Nixon, is her maiden name, Hoyt. She was born May 13th, 1946, and subsequently passed August 13th, 1988. And she was an American serial killer who was convicted of killing all 5 of her biological children.
Oh no.
She received...
Just go. I don't know why I'm asking questions. Let's listen.
I need to know this now.
Tell me what I need to know.
So she was born Juanita Ethel Nixon in Richford, New York. She died August 13th, 1998 at the age of 52 in Bedford, New York. She received life imprisonment for her crimes. She had 5 victims. Now, the worst part about this is it didn't happen all at once. It spanned from 1965 to 1971 that she killed all 5 of her children. Yeah. Okay. So like I said, she was born in Richford, New York. She dropped out of Newark Valley High School in the 10th grade to marry Tim Hoyt on January 11th, 1964. James Hoyt died on September 26, 1968, only 28 months after he was born on May 31st, 1966. All of her other children died before that mark. Eric, he was born October 17th, 1964, and he passed away January 26th, 1965. Julie, she was born July 19th and passed away September 5th, 1968. Molly, born March 18th, passed away June 5th, 1970. And Noah, born May 9th, passed away July 28th, 1971. For more than 20 years, it was believed that the babies had died of sudden infant death syndrome. Several years after the death of their last child, the Hoyts adopted a child, Jay, who remained healthy through childhood and was 17 when his adopted mother was arrested in 1994. The last two biological Hoyt children, Molly and Noah, were subjects of pediatric research that was conducted by Dr. Alfred Steinschneider, who published an article in 72 in the journal Pediatrics proposing a connection between sleep apnea and SIDS. The article was later discredited and subsequent research failed. So, because it couldn't be replicated how her children magically died. So, like we said, the prosecutor in the neighboring county had been dealing with a murder case initially thought to involve SIDS, was told by one of the experts, Dr. Linda Norton, a forensic pathologist from Dallas, that there may be a serial killer in his area of New York. Norton suspected after reviewing Steinschneider's report on the Hoyt case, in which the Hoyts were not identified by name. So he read the report and was kind of like, there's some killing going on here, people. Like, come the fuck on.
Like, maybe the first two would be SIDS, but like,
all of their children, and then magically their adopted child is just like, I'm fine. I got this.
Mind blown.
So in March of 94, Hoyt was approached at the post office by a state trooper with whom she was acquainted. He asked for her help in research that he was doing on SIDS, and she agreed. She was then questioned by the trooper and two other policemen. At the end of the interrogation, she confessed to the murder of all 5 children by suffocation. Consequently, she was arrested. The reason that she gave for the murders was that the babies were crying and she wanted to silence them. Sounds to me like she had some severe PPD.
Yeah. And that's a sad thing. Like, I could understand if she had no remorse and then like be labeled as like a serial killer, but like the fact that it's hard having a baby. I don't have a baby yet, but I already know it's hard.
Well, they suggested, so obviously a psychiatrist was hired to question her, because you don't just kill your 5 babies because they're crying and you want the crying to stop. Yeah. She was convicted in 95. Hoyt had been manipulated by police tactics in giving the confession. But on September 11th, 95, she was sentenced to 75 years to life, 15 years for each murder of her child, to be served consecutively. It was also speculated since her conviction that she suffered from Munchausen syndrome by proxy, a diagnosis that is not universally accepted in the case, which is unfortunate, but you can't just go around killing your kids because you got some Munchausen by proxy and postpartum.
And that's exactly it. And like, I also feel like after the first 2 with the whole postpartum, like
you would think somebody that was close to her would click in and be like, something's off with Juanita right now. Like, she's not herself.
No, and it's not that. Like, I feel like if it was postpartum, she would have like turned herself in eventually. Because like, I found a lot of women who have killed their children due to postpartum, they have so much remorse that they call the police and they turn themselves in. I don't think she had the remorse there,
which is where the Munchausen by proxy would come into play, because if she was killing them to get the attention from people, right?
She never got the attention anyway, but they're like, oh, it's just normal Juanita over there, you know, like,
right? But instead of just being like, oh, normal Juanita, they were like, oh shit, Juanita lost her baby, like, oh, you poor thing. And then she was like, oh,
the casserole.
you mean to tell me if I kill my children, you bring me food and I don't have to go to work? Ding.
Munchausen. Like, it's such a
it's a dirty, I mean, look at that Gypsy Rose. There's so many cases of Munchausen syndrome by proxy that it's unreal.
Yeah, I called her Jasmine earlier. Oh my gosh. Sorry, Gypsy. Oh my God, like women. I feel bad, especially if it has a lot to do with the postpartum. But I
Which,
really
like,
hope
okay, as a mom who suffered from postpartum,
which
like
all moms pretty much do. It just depends on the severity of it.
it's scary because you're so tired and you're trying to adjust and you're trying to figure out what this tiny little life that you brought into this world that can't talk to you, what the fuck do you need? Like, I've changed you, I've burped you, I've rocked you, I've held you, I've put you down, I've taken clothes off, I've put clothes on, I've bathed you, I've done this. Why are you still crying? I have
Yeah.
done everything.
And not only that, but your hormones are just so out of whack just because like you go from high pregnant hormones to no baby there, but there's still all these hormones that need to be somewhere and it doesn't know what to do.
Nobody talks about the fourth trimester, and that's after the baby's born. And that's the worst fucking trimester on the face of the planet.
Yeah. And sometimes postpartum can last a few years, a few good years.
I
So,
my postpartum, and I've been very open about this
mm,
always. My postpartum has decided that it didn't want to just stay postpartum. It wanted to like stick around for like
mm.
a
And
good long while.
I brought that up to you though.
Yes. But I didn't understand that the postpartum could develop into chronic depression, which is now what I suffer with, which is awful. And then the anxiety on top of it. And
That's the thing too with postpartum, like women just don't know because nobody really knows anything about the the female body,
I
especially
think,
when it comes to our hormones, when it comes to our reproductive organs,
well, and
all
women
this
just feel
stuff.
so much shame about the thoughts that they think. Like, I thought really bad thoughts.
Oh
Like,
no, yeah.
I thought about, I ought, let's get real here for a second. I thought about smothering my daughter with a pillow at one point because I just couldn't. And like at that point, I stepped away from her and I was just like, I put her down in her crib and I stepped out of the room and I let her cry and I cried. And,
Yeah.
but I think there's so much shame because people are like, well, this is what you wanted. Why are you so upset when this is what you wanted? You wanted to have a baby. And it's like, yes, but I didn't expect my brain to not be able to.
I think it's becoming a little more well known now because like people are making it a lot more aware. It is 2021. Everybody is making a lot of things aware. Um and it's just like any mental illness. Like I remember even just with regular anxiety. Oh, everybody's got anxiety. Everybody feels overwhelmed. Like everybody's got big emotions or you just got big emotions and it's like no, there's something more there. Like I know my body, I know my mind. I'm also a social worker, so I think I know what can be considered too much. And it's like i I feel like women now need to understand like anybody listening to this, if you're pregnant and you're going to have a baby or you just had a baby and you're like going cuckoo,
Or you plan on having a baby.
or you plan on like me, I know. Tell somebody. If you be serious with them, make sure you tell somebody that you trust. Make sure you like talk to your partner
So
if you have
like,
a partner.
I mean,
And
as a mom, because like, mind you, I only went through this 7 years ago, so it's not even really that long ago that I had my last child. But I remember being in my doctor's office and my doctor saying, because you're gonna get your checkups and the doctor's gonna look at you and say, "How are you feeling?" Don't bullshit and be like, "I'm great. Life is great. I'm so glad I be." Fucking be honest. If you are overwhelmed, look at your doctor and be like, I'm drowning. Like I
yeah,
don't know how to adjust.
exactly. And if your doctor dismisses how you're feeling,
Find
find
a new
somebody new.
doctor.
Yeah. Like because these are real feelings and a lot of people don't believe in it, like some other things they don't believe in, like they're like, oh, ADHD is not real, or like all this other stuff is just whatever. And but it is such a real feeling. And if you are feeling strong emotions, be truthful. Be truthful with your partner again if you have one. Be truthful with your parents if they're in your life and they're helping you out. Be truthful with your friends, anybody who's nearby that you can trust. And if you feel like you're alone, there's always numbers that you can call. Google them. There's support numbers that will help you and help you link up with people that you can talk to and trust.
Too many mamas are dying from something that can be easily prevented.
Exactly. And not saying that it's an easy thing to
It's
get
not easy
help.
to deal with, but
It's not easy to deal
there
with.
is a way to get through it.
Yeah, and it's hard taking that step to get the help, but and don't think that you're weak. You're not weak. It's just our bodies hate us. Let's just be
Shit's
honest.
hard. Shit is fucking
It
hard.
is
You
hard.
not only, your hormones not only go freaking ape shit because you are growing an entire human being
Yeah,
inside your body, then you have to expel said human being from your body one of two ways, both of which are fucking awful. Then you have to recover from expelling said human being. And then your hormones do this thing where they just go, and then you're like, oh shit, craziness. Like, and then you have no
yeah,
sleep, and then you have a crying baby, and it's so fucking much. So much. And it is enough to drive even the most sane person crazy. Like, you are literally changing your life in like this, in like a second.
not to scare anybody who really wants to have a
No,
baby.
it's fantastic and it's amazing, but it can be very scary. And if you do have those scary thoughts, you
And
so need to talk about them.
and again, like this doesn't happen to everybody. It all depends on the person and your hormones. Like
Genetic
just like
depression.
some people don't show for 7 months and then all of a sudden they have a belly. Like it's just all about how your body and your mind work. So
Every pregnancy is different. Every
don't let
body
it
is
scare
different.
you.
But if you have those thoughts, please talk about them because
Yeah, yeah.
you're not crazy. I promise.
So let's move on to my little lady. She's an oldie. She's probably she was born in 1730. That's how old she is.
Damn, she's like Salem witch trials old. Not
Yeah.
quite.
So her name is Daria Saltykova. She was a Russian noblewoman accused of torturing and murdering at least 100 of her servants. Most of the servants she murdered were children and young girls. Complaints about Saltykova were ignored by officials for a very long time until relatives of her victims were able to bring an official petition before Catherine the Great, who sentenced her to be chained to a public platform for 1 hour wearing a sign stating, "This woman tortured and murdered." Saltykova was later imprisoned in the basement of a convent for the remainder of her life. And she died in 1801. So she was like 71 years old when she died. That is old for that time period, by the way.
And she just stayed in the bottom of a nun's convent.
Yep. I agree.
They must have been feeding her, otherwise she wouldn't have lived that fucking long. I mean, how bad could that be?
She must have repented.
Oh no, stand naked with a sign around your neck for an hour, and then we're just going to toss you in the bottom of the nun's convent and repent your sins.
Yeah, what happened with off with your head? Like, I thought they loved that. Or hanging. I don't know. Maybe because she was a noble woman. I don't know. It's like
Maybe.
that now. Like the rich always get away with that.
It's true.
Don't come for me. uh, anyway, so where do I want to start? Let's start here. Young widow, Daria Saltykova was a Russian countess who, over a period of years, turned from a noblewoman into a vicious serial killer. Her maiden name was Ivanova. her family members were relatively well connected with Davidovs, Musin Pushkins, and Tolstoy's family. Saltykova married young to Gleb Saltykov and was widowed by the age of 26. She became the richest widow in Moscow. With her husband's death, she inherited the beautiful estate near Moscow called Troitsko, where she lived with her two young sons and over 600 servants.
Oh, she had plenty to kill then. What were they concerned about?
Why didn't she kill more? No, I'm kidding. She also had good property in Moscow. While she was married, no one had noticed anything special about her. She just seemed gloomy most of the time, as women do.
You know.
Oh, yeah. My boyfriend would say that all the time. Also, she was a very pious woman who donated a lot to churches and monasteries. So she was kind of nice, I guess, before she was widowed.
So she don't. Maybe that's
Oh,
why
well.
she got off so easy and got to like just stay in the nuns' convent basement.
Yeah, considering she was in a convent and she donated to churches and monasteries. That does make a lot of sense. I didn't even read that part. I must have skimmed that, to be honest. So one day, Saltykova met a young and very handsome Nikolai Toyechev, the grandfather of well-known Russian poet Fyodor Toyechev. As she was getting older and was very lonely, the affair with him raised her spirits a little bit.
I'm tired and I'm old and lonely. Can you love me a little?
Everybody deserves a little love. She soon learned that Toyechev had a love affair with a young girl, and they were even secretly married in church. In blind fury, Saltykova nearly killed her unfaithful lover. Toyechev and his wife, I might be saying this super wrong, I'm sorry, and his wife escaped to his relative's estate in Moscow and soon fled from the region. Out of revenge, Saltykova wanted to kill them. The opportunity was lost. Soon, she started wreaking her anger on her servants, mostly women. She hated them all. The younger they were, the more she hated them. She treated them as her rivals, giving her enemies no quarter. She tortured children and pregnant women to death by beating them, breaking their bones, throwing them out of the house naked into the frost, pouring boiling water on their bodies, and many other vicious and bloody tortures. She didn't make a habit of killing men, only 3 accidentally.
It was by accident. They ran into my knife.
Although she tortured them in a different way. She killed the ones they loved. One of her servants lost one by one 3 of his wives. The tortures and
Damn,
murders,
she's a cold-hearted bitch.
she was. Saltykova's cruelty had no simple explanation, as she would become furious for no apparent reason. At the beginning, she would throw logs at her servant girls when she didn't like the way they were cleaning the house, for example. Then transported with rage, she would beat, whip, and torture young girls and women to death. She was a sadist who enjoyed physically abusing her servants. Many early complaints to authorities about the deaths at the Saltykova estate were either ignored or resulted in punishment of the complainants. Because Saltykova was well connected with powerful members of the royal court, there we go, complaints about her possibly killing those who worked for her fell on deaf ears due to her standing in society. After an uproar from many of the victims' grieving family members, Saltykova was finally tried and convicted for killing only 38 women, about 100 fewer than in reality. So in the summer of 1762, peasant servants Sakhveli Martinov and Ermole Ilyin, the latter had lost 3 of his wives beaten to death on the orders of Saltyshika, fled from the state to St. Petersburg, where they eventually brought a petition before Empress Catherine II, The Empress ordered the College of Justice to begin an investigation regarding torture and murder. Catherine decided to try Saltykova publicly in order to further the Empress's lawfulness initiative. She was arrested in 1762. She was held for 6 years while the authorities conducted an investigation. That was a long investigation. Most surviving victims and witnesses were afraid to give evidence. Stepan Volkov was the investigator who allowed an action to proceed. She was not admitted mad or ill. She was unrepentant of her terrible deeds. Even the priest whose mission was to make her confess to her killings failed to make her talk. She was absolutely sure she would escape punishment. According to forensic detectives, over the period of 6 to 7 years, Daria Saltykova murdered by various methods 139 people, mainly women, including young girls of 10 to 12. Wow.
That's really young.
Catherine's Collegium of Justice questioned many witnesses and examined the records of the Saltykova estate. The investigating official counted as many as 138 suspicious deaths, of which the vast majority was attributed to Saltykova. She was found guilty of having killed 38 female servants by beating and torturing them to death, but the Empress was still unsure about how to punish her, as the death penalty had been abolished, that's why, in Russia in 1754.
Maybe they should have kept it around just a little bit longer.
A little longer, or maybe caught her before that.
Or just made a special exception for her. Just been like,
no, you were pretty bad.
You did kill 150
that has it. And the new Empress needed the support of the nobility. Finally, on October 2nd, 1768, a sentence of life imprisonment in the Ivanovsky cloister was handed down to Saltykova, preceded by a civil execution ceremony on Red Square in Moscow. At a public meeting in Red Square, she was chained on a platform for an hour in front of the crowd with a sign around her neck with the text, "This woman has tortured and murdered." She was then hauled off to live out her remaining years in the basement of a convent. So her sentence basically required her to be incarcerated in a monastery dungeon in chains and in darkness. A windowless wooden room was built for her, so for a long time she lived in complete darkness. Oof. She was under 24-hour guard. A nun would bring food and a candle. After meals, the candle would be taken away. In the imperial verdict was also the prescription. From this reclusion, take her out in such a place during church services, where she would be able to hear one without entering the church proper. In a penitentiary cell, fully dark, Saltykova turned her back on the world for 11 long years. The Moscow cloister was notorious as a place where many women of aristocratic lineage were imprisoned against their will. Their families would typically make sumptuous offerings for the monastery towards the upkeep of their female relation. It is here, often under the guise of mental illness, that secret female prisoners of the investigation department and the Secret Investigations Bureau would be sent, typically involved in political and criminal cases. All of them were held in the stone sacks under supervision of cloister sisters. After 11 years in 1779, Saltykova was transferred to one of the monastery buildings. This room contained a window with shutters. Ooh, she upgraded.
Ooh.
One of her contemporaries recorded her conduct here. Saltykova would spit at curious spectators, would revile them, and shove a stick at them through the window. Whether her mental illness was a result of her solitary confinement or was merely aggravated by it is unclear. She died in her cell on November 27, 1801, at the age of 71, after 33 years of incarceration. Some documents, however, provide 1800 as a year of her death. So, damn. She was a
She
feisty
was
lady.
not going down. She's like, she was the queen of stubborn.
Oh,
She's like,
fuck
yeah, I killed those people and you're not going to put me away for it. And they're like, watch us. And she's like, okay.
You're just gonna die here, probably of syphilis or any other disease that's gonna come through the plague. I don't know.
So she's like, go ahead and try me.
Yeah, I'm gonna live until I'm 73.
Oh no, make me stand naked with my gorgeous body out for everybody to see. I killed people.
Oh, 71.
My boobies. I killed people.
She probably outlived the majority of the people that imprisoned her there.
The people that she
Guaranteed.
killed probably wouldn't have lived very long if they were servants in 1700 anyway. Like,
That's
realistically.
not that it takes away from her crimes.
Not that it takes away from the fact that she did take away young girls from their families, but like, looking back, knowing what we know now,
Yeah.
she might have done, maybe not with the torturing part,
Maybe.
but like,
She just she hated, like, as if it was just the women's fault, like.
it wasn't the fact that her man friend stuck his dick in somebody else. No, she was like, no, it was her fault. Had nothing to do with him. He just tripped and his pants fell off. That was what happened there. She was the one that was like, trip and fall into me.
He just fell on that marriage certificate and accidentally signed it.
I made him fall in love with me for my fucking powerful vagina magic. Like, sorry, princess.
Although, let's be real, 1700s, I'm sure there was some weird thoughts there.
There was some weird vagina magic happening in the 1700s. Let's look at hygiene practices, one of these videos. That is scary.
Oh no.
But that is going to be the end of our episode for tonight. We hope you guys enjoyed hearing a little bit about some obscure serial killers that you might not have known about before, or might have heard in passing, but now you know a little bit more, because who doesn't love to know a little bit more about their favorite serial killers?
Be careful out there, people. There's some real weirdos out there.
And if you have any more interest, all you have to do is literally Google male or female serial killers, and you will get a list of, there's so many.
So many. And if you did like this, let us know. And because I wouldn't mind doing more of these. Like, I love listening to like crime stories and everything. And it's a big thing now, is like crime. It's so funny that women just love it. Sit there watching crime stuff on Netflix. Also check out our Facebook page. I have been uploading quite a bit, except for yesterday, of course. I wanted to post a live video, which I will probably do tomorrow if I'm not too busy.
Well, and Halloween is coming up, so we might have some really cool ideas for posts, and like to get you guys involved in some video ideas and stuff for Halloween, because it is spooky season.
And also, if you really like the mini episodes that we've also posted, like I did one and Ashley did one, thanks to technical issues. Oh, you were away for, yeah, that was still thanks to technical issues, actually. We want to post those on our Patreon for people, but we need some Patreon subscribers. And to do that, just go to our link tree. We will have it posted in our description below, or wherever, depending on what you're listening to this on.
It'll be linked down below.
Well, I don't know what it is on the podcast, like
it's underneath,
Spotify,
I think.
Apple, and that.
On YouTube, it will be linked down below. On Apple and everything, it will be somewhere on the page. I'm not sure where, but we will always include the link tree.
And that will take you to everything: our Facebook, our Twitter, which we need some people on our Twitter, our Instagram, Patreon, and other platforms that you can listen to this on.
I was thinking, and now I just want to throw this out here with everybody listening, maybe you and I could do some spooky photos for Halloween to be posted on our Instagram, on our Twitter, just so that we can get you guys a little more involved in us and our podcast. And we are about spooky things, we are about obscure things and things that go bump in the night and don't quite make sense. So
yeah, and I also been posting to our TikTok a little bit lately. I have this video that I've just been having trouble editing it, guys. I am so sorry. I really want to post it. It is really good. But yeah, it's coming soon when I figure it out. I might have to do it on the computer, maybe. I don't know.
I'm not sure.
We'll see if
I don't know
Josh
how to
will
edit
let me.
TikTok videos, so that's out of my league.
So, but yeah, check all that out, and yeah.
Don't forget to subscribe, click that bell so you get notified when we get new episodes, which we are trying every week. Like I said, some technicalities have come up, and obviously we're working on it and doing the best that we can. So there might be some delays with some episodes, but we will make sure that they will all get up and published as soon as we can. I saw that flashing light. I don't know what that was out there.
It's somebody's apartment because like there's apartments over there, and I guess they turned the light
Oh,
on in the bathroom, and I'm like, why are they just turning it on and off? Anyway,
Bloody Mary.
oof. So anyways, we will see you next week with a new nightmare.
See you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.